Hey, everybody, welcome back. And can you believe it? So, KOMO came out with a report from Zillow and basically Redfin and Inman, I should say, not Zillow, and said that 71% of agents last year did not close one transaction. What? That is insane. Let's dive into that. We'll dive into some of the metrics. And in the meantime, let's get the show on the road. Okay, so funny enough, when we take a look at, what transactions happen, how many agents do how many transactions per year, what agent should I work with? We kind of delve into this on a very non-marketing level to say, hey, listen, look, you're about to spend thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars working with a real estate broker, and truly you own it to yourself and to your family. Make sure you're working with the right real estate broker. Hands down, it doesn't matter if this stat is correct because it's nationwide. Because I think locally here, I think it was 54%. Last year was 49. The year before that was 43. Super important to really to interview that agent. So when we take a look at this, so we have, according to KOMO, right, says a recent report from Inman, a real estate publication, reveals Redfin survey found that 71% of active real estate agents did not close a home in 2024. Now, that truly is a astronomical number. And I think that is just skewed just a little bit. And the reason I say that is that there's a lot of agents that are part-time, they don't do business. And I think that is bolstering that number. That's my humble opinion, and that seems super, super high. But anyway, nonetheless, as we take a look at the rest of this report, says according to NAR, 88% of home purchases were made through a real estate broker. Only 5% of buyers purchased directly from a builder or builder's agent, and another 5% bought directly from the previous owner. All right, so home affordability is one of the biggest challenges, and that is without a doubt what is going on, and including some areas that are having insurance issues like California, Florida, and including our state where we're seeing Eastern Washington, not being able to be insured because of fire dangers and whatnot. And that's just been an ongoing issue with insurance companies and what's going on. Now, here's the thing. When we talk about real estate brokers, interviewing real estate brokers, yeah, I know, and taking a look at who should you work with. Look, there's 3 things you need to do. First, ask how many transactions that they're doing. 2, ask for a testimonial, somebody who you can talk to, not a referral, but I'm drawing a blank on it. But anyway, ask for that person, that reference of, hey, how did they do business? How do they solve problems? Third, what kind of marketing do they actually do? What do they do to find you the best home or to actually sell your home? And when you might say, George, what kind of marketing could somebody do to help somebody find a home? Well, those are off-market homes. And that takes marketing. That takes skill sets and actual marketing, not just going into the MLS. I'm just saying, keep that in mind as you're doing that, because good agents aren't cheap and cheap agents, they're not good. I'm just telling you, do your homework. Make sure that you're working with an absolutely solid person who's got a lot of background education as far as pertaining to transactions. I'm not talking about having a PhD in widget science. I'm talking about tangible real estate knowledge, because that is where the tire hits the pavement, okay? How well do they negotiate? How well do they communicate? How can they create additional buyers or eyeballs on your home if you're selling, or different homes for you to see? I'm just saying, keep that in mind. Getting off my soapbox, let's all have a little bit of fun. So let's continue on. Let's take a look at some of the headlines that we've been seeing this last week. Building permits staying fairly calm. We are not seeing a lot of building permit starts, which is a little odd this time of year. I would expect building permits to start ramping up, but they're a little cautious. They're a little cautious because of tariffs. They're a little cautious with the new administration because they're not sure where things are going to go. And that, I guess that's situation normal. The however is we are still seeing quite a few transactions happening, as we're going to see with our metrics here. But let's dive into our headline some more. All right, bottom left, refi still basically the best level since October. Yes, I still think that rates are going to be coming down. I think rates are going to be down into the mid to lower sixes. I think as we head into kind of April, May, we might hit into the high fives. It just depends. We've got some, we have some, yes, our Wednesday reporting is going to be coming up with some government metrics, and that's going to affect rates. Because remember, rates are publicly traded. And the feds aren't meeting for a while. Hopefully they're not going to reduce rate again, which I don't think they will, which again will head us in that continuous downward trend. We're going to show you that here in just a little bit. Let's get back to our headlines. Look at this. We're actually at 6.89 par pricing. That is roughly about 0.05% lower than we were at this time last year. And then, of course, mortgage rate casualties drift back to a 2-month lows, which is a good comment, even though the title might seem a little clunky. All right. Anyway, when we take a look at Freddie, hey, look at our 7-day running average. There we go. We are down year over year, 0.05. I think that's super awesome. Our 1-week change still shows us down. And as you can see from the chart, we are heading in definitely nicer, more pleasant territory for buying. Now, here's the funny thing. When we take a look at average days on market, that actually went up. And that's that center chart. We went up 5 days year over year. And so that's a little concerning, but not uncommon. We have seen just a tiny bit of a slowdown in the market. And in fact, we're selling about 1% from list price to sales price. We're about 97%, which is about 1% lower than where we were at last year. Now, you might be saying, George, is this a problem? No, it's not. We see this bobble all the time. It's not a big deal. What we'll look for is more of the long-term metrics. I am still anticipating a lot of inventory starting to come on market as we get closer to March, which is a very common upswing in inventory and whatnot. And then when you take a look at the running 7-day average, which we'll dive into in a second, you're going to see, hey, you know what? We are still plodding right along. So in fact, if we take a look at the 7-day running average right now, which is chart on the right, now dead center for you. Look at that. We had 663 homes coming on market, yet we still had 947 go off market. We did have about 305 price reductions, but here's what's super interesting. Keep this in mind. Over the last 35 weeks, we have had more pended each week than have come on market, even though we wait until Saturday, which Friday is a huge list date. In fact, it's funny enough, you have a, what is it? I believe it's a 70% greater chance of selling your home within the first 7 days if you list on a Friday, which makes utter perfect sense. Why? Well, because you want to list between 10 and 11 in the morning, because it takes 45 minutes to syndicate to all of the real estate websites that are out there. Okay. So if you put your home on the market, you sign up with the multiple listing service, the MLS, and you send that out, it's going to hit your Zillow, your Redfin, your Realtor.com, all of your real estate websites, including at Bentley Properties, our website, the IDX, where all of the properties go and they syndicate to say, hey, come here, take a look at homes for sale. It takes about 45 minutes. That way you can target people when they are basically getting ready to go on lunch. They see this property. They go, oh my gosh, call their agent and schedule a showing for probably that Saturday, sometimes even later on that afternoon. But that is a common thing. So that's why we wait until Saturday, because we do get a big influx on these numbers. So as we pop in here and we can see at 82 that came back on market, 305 that were reduced, our numbers for canceled and expired, those are pretty low. That's actually really good. 947 went pending. So really at the end of the day, you can tell that we are selling or putting under contract more homes that are coming online. That has been that way for the last 35 weeks. It's actually been longer than that. We had 1 week where it actually We had just a few more homes that came on market, then went off. And so that kind of gave us a little bit of a reset. All right, moving on. All right, so when we talk about what's going on with the market, let's open this back up. There we go. So you can see the natural swing trend in the circle on the left. That's our January, February. And as you can see, that normally heads up, and you can see that is a consistent rolling pattern. And you'll see that if I go back my 33 years of my career, you will see that same thing. So when we take a look at the average list price versus the average sold price, you can see here, in fact, let's blow that up one more time for you to see it clearer. So the average list price actually went up $10,000 over last week, although it's about 3% down year to date. Last week, homes were, the average sales price was $806,000, which is a little bit lower this week at $803,000. Again, nominal. This is normal for these to bobble around. Really, when we take a look at month to date, it's pretty flat. It's pretty consistent straight across the board. So there's not a whole lot of change that's happening, because remember last year at this time we had those lower rates where we were actually up almost near 8. In October of the prior year, it started coming down, carried through January, February, and we still carried that momentum. And that's why this year you might be saying, well, George, this is kind of more flat. Yeah, because we actually had better rates technically through October, where this October we didn't. Actually, rates had gone back up, and now we've been seeing that downward trend when the Feds did not adjust their price, which, again, remember, the Feds do not control mortgage rates. That is super important to understand. All right. If you need to, watch my prior shows. We won't delve into that one again. All right. So let's take a look at actual numbers. Let's take a look at velocity. So on the right, we have our, year to date. And of course, in the center, we have our month over month, which is super, super important, because this shows you how well we're actually doing. Even though we had a few less closings over this last week than we have, we're still up by 4.6%. Number of pended year to date, we're up about almost 10%. However, interestingly enough, when we take a look at the month of February, our new on market, well, it's down about 1.6%. It was higher last week, meaning that we had more homes on new on market last week than we did this week. Although February closings, they're struggling a little bit. They're about 36 homes off from where they were last year. Okay, that's not monumental. This is 3/4 of Washington State. That's not a big deal, but it's important because we start to watch trend, and we can see that when rates go up, things start to slow down. When rates come down, things start to peak up. And we have been seeing some gradual decrease in rates, and we've been seeing an increase in homes going pended, as you saw from our running 7-day average. So if we take a look then and we dive a little bit deeper, we take a look at new construction. Okay, so new construction itself is doing, I would say, relatively well, but flat. And what does that mean? Well, let's blow this chart up just a little bit more. So when we take a look at the average list price, so last week, versus the average sold price. So the average sold price for last week was $1,014,000. Well, you say, oh my gosh, I went down. It's $999,000. Okay, that's not a monumental change. And the reason that that's not even concerning is because when we have a weekly idea of what's going on, some plats are selling more, some plats are selling different, and there's different prices all around. And so what we look at are the big shifts, or a consistent shift in a downward direction or upward direction. We're not seeing that because, a couple of weeks ago it was high. This week is a little bit lower. Next week it could be flat or a little bit higher, which tells me that we're running pretty flat, and their numbers and their stats are running pretty flat. Even though they had a very sluggish start this year, even when we take a look at the same February, last week was $1,004,000, and today it's $974,000. So again, consistent, but not shocking at all. When we take a look at actual volumes of sales, they're not bad. They're a couple of hundred homes off, not horrible. Sales are down about 168 homes year to date. Pended are down 191, which is consistent with let's go back, with what we are seeing with the month over month for the month of February. Yeah, they're about 141 homes, which is what we're seeing up above, because January actually did pretty well and did better than February. And then, of course, when we take a look at pended, hey, they've been making up some traction. So last week, pended sales were down 26.2%. Well, now it's only 14.8%, almost half. So they made up. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago. So they've made up part of that ground. And that, again, is showing that we're getting a little bit more correct progression, which is super awesome. That's where we need to be. But it is nothing earth-shattering either way. And yeah, there are some comments about some of the other states, Texas, Florida, parts of Michigan and Arizona, saying, they've got too much construction. We're starting to see price adjustments and whatnot. Okay, we are seeing some price adjustments here. We're seeing a lot more incentives, but that is also situation normal, and that will change as we start to get a little bit more buyer activity, especially as we start seeing some of those rates start to come back down into about 6.5%, which I think we're going to see that by the end of March, April, might even be a little bit before that. All right, moving on. So if we take a look at, yes, your all-time favorite, bank-owned or REO properties, again, the same type of situation exists. So we do not have many REOs or bank-owned homes out there, and a number of the credit unions that we work with and update, are super happy to see things like this. And when we take a look at the actual numbers themselves, hey, listen, the number of pended they absolutely just went off the chart this last week. We saw some price reductions, homes went off. When you take a look at, when we take a look at the month over month, the bottom chart in the center there, look, you know what? We had an increase in inventory, not uncommon. And then, of course, we had an amazing amount of days on market. Again, not surprising. And, of course, the list to sale price is still suffering. And we have it on the right-hand side there. Look, man, it's overpriced. Look, as a seller, and you can't take bank-owned homes and say, oh, my gosh, it's Armageddon. That's not the case, because loan servicers have to overprice the home. I know that sounds horrible. Overpricing your home is like the kiss of death, but they overprice their home because they have to prove that they got the most amount of dollars and that they didn't undersell the property. All right. Listen, if you're a seller, do not follow that guideline. Look, if your home sells in the first 7 days, you're going to get between 100 and 107% of list price. You miss that mark and you go out to 20 days, you're going to look at 98, 96% of list price. All right. If you miss that mark, you got to 40 days, you're going to look at 92, 93% of list price. And that means that the longer you're on market, the less dollars are in your pocket. Now, for buyers, that's super important, because you can actually look at the just one price point above where you're at by 5, 6, 7, 8% for those homes that have been on the market too long and negotiate a different price. Now, that is tactically smart. So keep that in mind. If you're looking to move up or looking at getting in your initial home, you can't find something in the price point that you're in. Hey, look at things that have been on the market longer, knowing that you can negotiate back down. Now, caveat to that is they can't have just recently reduced their price, because the seller will anchor on that price. Oh, I just lost $15,000. Which they didn't. They overpriced themselves, right? And it could still be overpriced, but at least they, if you catch them before they anchor on that next price, you have a higher probability of scoring a better price. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Please leave comments down below. Smash that subscribe button. Let me know that you're listening. Share this with people that you know. Hope you enjoy the show. This is not scripted in any way, as you'll be able to tell by every week. And if you have any questions, love to answer them. In the meantime, have an absolutely fabulous weekend. It's a little rainy out there, so stay dry and have a beautiful day. Take care.